What's up, team? Mikey Bell here with Outdoor Adventure Training. Unfortunately, today is not going to be a gnarly leg or core or even upper body workout because I recently sent it a little bit too big in shoot 3 of the bowl at Mount Ashland and got a little back slap, and that resulted in a bit of a left shoulder subluxation. Although it's not an official diagnosis, I have a pretty good intuition that my left shoulder got pulled back, popped out, popped right back in, had a lot of numbness, tingly sensations in my fingers, and was pretty uncomfortable. Next morning, I woke up with severely limited range of motion, pretty intense pain. I decided to go to the emergency room after all, get an x-ray. Luckily, that came back negative. However, I do have an old clavicle fracture that you can see in the image here from when I was 18 years old. So this is a long lingering injury. It admittedly, I have not been keeping up on my upper body mobility in the last few months due to the heavy training in ski season, lack of upper body training, and my guess is some of that old weakness and scar tissue, limited range of motion resulted in this injury. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to mix things up with a bit of a shoulder rehab routine. This is something that I've been practicing for the last 48 hours, albeit extended versions of this one you're gonna get. We're hoping this will give you some tools in case you've also suffered from a shoulder injury in the past and have some old scar tissue that you know needs to be addressed. So briefly, I just wanna outline my approach to rehabbing this because I wanna get back out there as soon as possible. I got a lot more powder to ski. I got mountain guiding season coming up, and I gotta show up for you all and keep tearing it up in the garage gym, and of course, all of my training clients. I really can't afford to be injured for a long period of time, and that's just the nature of my profession, being a personal trainer and a professional mountain guide. So I always approach my self-care and health and fitness as a professional athlete should, because if I can't work, I ain't getting paid. This has also been a humbling reminder that I might need to dial it back a little bit with sending big rocks in the bowl. Risk versus reward. To have lingering pain for weeks, is it really worth it to huck that 10-foot cliff in case I blow it? Probably not. So always getting back to the essence of why am I doing something? Am I looking for that intrinsic challenge and because it really brings me joy? Or is it the ego of I need to maintain some sort of status by sending it big or crushing big objectives? So of course, immediately after injury, when there's trauma like I sustained on my shoulder, RICE is a classic acronym: rest, ice, compression, elevation, and those do stand true, albeit only for the first 48 to 72 hours. If you keep ricing whatever your injury is beyond that, you are definitely gonna lose range of motion, you're gonna lose strength, and scar tissue is gonna develop quickly. So after that initial trauma has subsided, we've gotten the inflammation down, I spent a lot of time resting my shoulder, even got in the creek several times at 1 degree Celsius to cold plunge, really ice that whole area, and bringing down that inflammation the best I can through anti-inflammatory foods. I've been juicing a ton, getting up on that vitamin C, antioxidant rich foods. But outside of all of that, I'm well beyond that 72-hour mark. I'm on day 4. So it's time to really start mobilizing, breaking up that tissue. It's not gonna be comfortable, but it shouldn't induce a lot of pain. We're looking for pain-free range of motion. So for me right now, this is tolerable. Getting way up overhead, that's still a little bit tight, so I'm not gonna push it into that range that, ouch, it really hurts. We're looking for the good kind of ouch of, oof, I'm getting some stuff moving, and ultimately, our goal is blood flow. This is a soft tissue injury. Luckily, I didn't tear any ligaments or tendons. It's likely just muscular strain. So the more blood flow we can bring in and out of that area, the quicker those muscles are gonna heal because we're bringing oxygen and nutrients, pulling it away, back again, and that's how we heal our muscular system. So for this routine, you are going to need a few tools, very simply, a foam roller and any sort of lacrosse ball, massage ball. We're gonna be doing some trigger point release on the deltoids, which I'm excited about, but also understand it's gonna be a little bit uncomfortable, and a yoga mat for some static stretching. We're gonna do some active range of motion. We're gonna do some self-myofascial release, and then more static range of motion, trying to open those tissues up. let's open the Outdoor Adventure Training app and dive into the routine. So we'll click on the Shoulder Rehab Routine. As you can see, we got some dynamic stretches, some foam rolling, and then a few more dynamic stretches and an active stretch. I forgot to mention, you are going to need some sort of a dowel or a pole, which I know all of you have, or most of you either have trekking poles or ski poles handy, so we'll need that. You're also gonna need a bench or a box. Okay, really simply, we're starting with arm circles, okay? I also did not mention that this is a unilateral routine, meaning we're only focusing on one side here. If you wanna make this bilateral, we'll talk you through how to do that. It's just gonna involve you pausing, rewinding, repeating. So right here, I'm just looking for a little bit of range of motion, just kind of warming up that shoulder joint. This is definitely the best it's felt. I really feel it the most on that back range of motion. So I'm just nice and slow here, working that range of motion, trying to really assess where I'm at with my mobility. Ooh, that tendency there to open up my whole body. That is not shoulder range of motion. Just trying to work some movement in that shoulder joint.
10 seconds left. Hang in there.
We're gonna be grabbing our dowel next. Or in my case, it'll probably be a ski pole. Oh,
Around the world.
definitely feeling the fatigue in the deltoids. 5 days of inactivity there. Just gonna grab my fulcrum pole here. Oh, this one is tight. I'm really trying to work that range of motion up and over. Usually this is no problem for me, but today, ouch. I feel it really deep in the pecs here, which I'm guessing got pretty strained, along with the posterior deltoid in the back. So just trying to work that range of motion. Oh. You guys are gonna see me struggle today. Oh, maybe more so than in those gnarly leg workouts that we love hitting. Just really trying to work that motion. Should not be super comfortable, but again, it shouldn't be painful. If it gets above a 5 or so on the pain scale, ditch it. Decrease the range of motion. For you, it might be just right here.
Wall angels.
Okay, hanging that pull up. We got wall angels next. I experimented with some of these before to make sure I could actually perform them at some degree. That's about what I got on the left side right now. So I'm really working on heels, sacrum, thoracic spine, and head are against the wall. And I'm trying to get up that range of motion. I could cheat and pull my arm away from the wall. That actually feels okay. But to actually keep it up there, that's about all I got. The shoulder is also getting fatigued already. So just nice and easy. Try not to let your lumbar spine arch too much. Really trying to keep that navel tucked in. Work that range of motion. I know I said it's unilateral. For me, it's just habit. I always do this on both sides. So although this isn't strength focused, I'm feeling the fatigue in the anterior deltoid, rebuilding some of that strength, and just really easy range of motion. Transitioning to foam rolling. Again, I'm only doing this on one side, focusing on the pectorals. I gotta be really careful about how I get into this. Still weighting that shoulder to plank position is not tolerable, but all I'm doing, this is gonna be pretty passive. Got the foam roller right on the pec. This arm is extended up overhead. And we're just gently rolling. I've been doing this a lot over the last 2 days. I have a pretty good idea of where those knots and adhesions are. Right up in there. Just breathe through it. Like I mentioned, this is really only one piece of the puzzle. The nutrition, the sleep, the hydration, anti-inflammatory practices. However, at some point, you're only gonna get that range of motion back if we do some mobility techniques. Getting really deep into that shoulder. Massage, acupuncture, chiropractor, those things are all scheduled over the next few weeks to really get in there, stay up on this. Definitely a bit of a wake-up call of, man, I got to address this old injury that's been affecting me for the last 12 years. High school football. We're going to be transitioning to foam rolling the lats. I'm going to do this again very carefully. All I'm actually gonna do is just roll over onto that side so I don't need to move my shoulder. Oh yeah, getting right up in that posterior deltoid, latissimus dorsi, really wherever you find that tightness, just try to find it, pin it. Notice I'm not doing a ton of rolling here. We don't need big aggressive rolls. Nice and slow. Also, shout out to Mount Ashland Skimo. Recently had a race a week ago now. Came in second in the heavy metal category. It was good day out. 5,500 feet of vert, 10 miles, 14 transitions. Whew, we were cooking out there. It was awesome. But, feeling it. Not so much that, feeling this. Fully recovered from the skimo race. That took about 3 days. Getting really deep into the lats here. Focus on your breathing. Notice I'm not moving a ton. We're going to be transitioning to the triceps next, which you might be wondering, hey, it's a shoulder injury. Why are we doing pecs, lats, triceps? Well, all of these muscle groups insert in and around the shoulder. So if we can create freedom in the surrounding structures, boom, we create freedom through the shoulder. Oof, this one in particular has been pretty gnarly. I feel the knot. Just focusing on the breathing. This is our last foam rolling movement before we stand up with the lacrosse ball on the wall. You can also do a little active release technique. Find that point of tenderness, extend the arm, and then bend the elbow, flexing the biceps slightly. I might go up a little bit deeper into this posterior shoulder zone, upper triceps. Trying to stay as relaxed as possible, which might be difficult.
Seconds left. Hang in there.
I'm going to come out of this really slowly. I'm going to get a bit of a head start. I'm going to try to minimize the pressure on that left arm. Okay, we're grabbing the lacrosse ball. We're doing some trigger point release. I'm just going to come right up here. And I'm quite simply, as you can see on my kooky photo over there, just trigger point release, that's TPR, on the deltoid. So I have that lacrosse ball. I'm pinning the muscle against the ball, which is on the wall. Just really gentle rolling here. You might think I'm really laying into this. I'm not putting a lot of weight at all. But it really feels like that posterior zone has really been what's limiting my range of motion. I can feel that in like the overhead around the world mobility exercise we just did. And in the anterior deltoid, it's tight, but not quite as tight. It's more that lateral and posterior side, so that's where I'm focusing my attention. Might be different for you given the nature of your injury. Do what feels intuitive. Power Block Dumbbells recently sent us these freaking amazing dumbbells. Got them literally the day I strained my shoulder, so just got to look at them for now, but they are sweet. And I will use all 100 pounds of those. Maybe we'll do a max strength workout someday soon. Okay, so we're transitioning to an overhead lat opener. This is just a 60-second. We're actually gonna make it somewhat of an active stretch. I'm just gonna be on my knees, and I'm just putting my hand, my wrist, my lower arm up on this box, and I'm subtly thinking about pushing my heart down towards the floor, my chest. Really deep stretch through that whole latissimus dorsi muscle on that side. Again, if you want to do this for both shoulders, I'm all for it. Just pause the video And repeat it on the other side. Actively working the range of motion here.
10 seconds left. Hang in there.
Oh, such a good stretch.
You're done.
Okay, coming out of that very slowly.
Thoracic lat
Ooh,
stretch.
stiff. I'm gonna grab a pole, dowel, ski pole, whatever you got. I don't mind that it's pink. Putting my elbows up on the box, and I'm pushing my chest down towards the floor, very similar to what we just did. And now I'm working the range of motion here. Oh, trying to extend those arms. And then flexion again. The wider your hands are out from each other, which I can't do right now, the more intense this is going to be. In fact, my pinkies are pretty much touching. Going super slow. Again, if pain is an issue, only go as far as pain-free. Push it a little bit. We're certainly not trying to add insult to injury here. Really working that range of motion. It's getting better, surprisingly. Well, not surprisingly, but in just 60 seconds, 90 seconds, already feeling that left delt, lat open up.
You're done in 3, 2,
Nice work.
1.
Coming out of that very, very slowly. Just gonna lean this up against the wall for now. We're ending with a puppy pose. This is our last static stretch. I love this one for opening up the shoulders. Do what's comfortable for you. You could also just do a child's pose. But essentially, I'm staying up on my fingertips and I'm pushing my chest down towards the floor. You can even put your head on the floor. If you want to take it another step further, you're going to put your elbows on the floor. Bring your hands together and towards the back of your neck. Readjust a little bit here. I am pushing a little bit more on that left side to exaggerate that stretch. Just breathing and relaxing. Almost done, team. Keep breathing. Hang in there. And we're going to come out of this super, super slowly. Putting your hands back to the floor and then use that good shoulder to help get you up. Whew. That's that good kind of ouch. Immediately, my shoulder feels like, whoa, that was a lot. In the next 10, 20, 30 minutes, it's going to feel that more freedom range of motion. Yes, you can still ice. You can alternate between ice and heat. That's kind of what I've been doing a lot of, just to get that blood flow moving. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, I'm really sorry we're not coming out with a super gnarly workout this week. That was the plan. Hopefully by next week, I'm 100% or at least good enough to crush a hard workout, but that will only happen if we keep taking care of ourselves, keep hitting the mobility, stay on it with the nutrition, the hydration, the sleep, all the pillars of health, they all come together. Ooh, shoulders feeling better already. We'll see you next time here at Outdoor Adventure Training.